A couple of things before we go to the NFC East and kind of recap the four teams out there. And I just very disappointed in what in the Washington football team. What network did you watch the draft on?
I watched it on ABC before I realized that I had NFL Network. I don't watch a lot of TV at my house, and then I switched
Yeah,
it to NFL Network
yeah.
about 12 picks in.
So I had the most refreshing experience in my life because I was on the go all the whole time. So I watched it on Bleacher Report, and it was really good. The coverage was really good. I mean, I forgot the name of the guy who's there, like Mel Kiper. He's a young guy, like gelled out hair, funky outfits, but he's really good. He's really good. Very talented group. I thought RG3 is one of their guys who criticized, like who basically kind of talked about the quarterbacks when the quarterback got drafted, and he was really good. I mean, he even went after some guys. I was like, okay, RG, calm down. But it was actually good. Reggie Wayne was a guy. Akeem Talib is another guy who did it for him as well. And it's funny because he definitely watched the film. But he doesn't speak articulately, and maybe a couple of swears kind of went out a little bit, but he did do a good job. I mean, the whole crew is a really good. I think I'm gonna watch that forever. And they talk about every single player. I love how and then the host of the show was like, they were going after the other networks. He was like, this is why you gotta watch the Bleacher Report. Right now, they're at commercial. They'll be at commercial for 3 minutes, and we're talking about this player right here. And they wouldn't even get to this player on ESPN on NFL Network. And I was like, wow. and they went through everybody. It was actually really good. I guess we got to talk about the quarterback in Green Bay, the player. This is not. Do you feel like it's at the point of no return? Because like we've been here before. We've been here with Watson this offseason, and then he screwed up. We've been here with Wilson, and then that went away. Do you feel like this is different? Do you feel like he would? I mean, AJ Hawk was on TV today saying that there's no way he retires, so retiring is not going to be the issue. You think it's a realistic thing that he just says they have to trade him? Because who wants to be the GM, who trades, Aaron Rodgers?
No, I think Aaron Rodgers is going to be a Green Bay Packer, or he's going to be not playing, because if he does retire, he has to return almost $22 million in signing bonus. And he's not ready.
That ain't happening.
That's not happening.
Jeopardy ain't paying that.
Yeah, they're not. If they were going to do it, they would have done it, a couple of weeks before the draft. There's no reason to do it now. Why would you do it now and get compensation for next year? Make him sit out the season and trade him in January.
And isn't it like, if they trade him, isn't it like a $30 million cap hit? Like for they hold the cards, right? I mean, just like all these NFL deals, they hold the cards. Like there's no way out. I mean, he's just trying to either get more money or get, more help. I mean, that's a spot where, like, if I said, "Hey, Aaron, we're gonna trade for Julio Jones," how's that? How's that sound? And then take it from there. Like, like there is no real avenue for him to be a Bronco, to be a Raider. Like it's just they're not gonna do that.
It's all about money. He sees his deal that he was the highest paid quarterback. Yeah. Now you've seen guys pass him: Dak Prescott. I want to say Russell Wilson. There might be one or two more. And he just won the MVP, and he wants $42 million a year. They tried to negotiate the extension. Clearly, Green Bay wasn't willing to do that or go that high because they have Jordan Love. The timing of it just didn't make sense, why it came out the day of the draft. And Green Bay didn't have any time to negotiate with anybody.
Yeah.
To try to trade him. So, and now Rodgers is kind of backing off that. I love Green Bay. Like, I want to be in Green Bay.
Oh, yeah,
talking to Mike Tirico from the Kentucky Derby. But, clearly, he doesn't want to be there, but he doesn't have a choice at this point. I fully expect they're going to tell him to either show up or sit out. They're not trading him.
Yeah, there's no way to trade. It doesn't make any sense as far as that go. Really got sick of everybody when everybody drafted a quarterback. Like, you would think like it's not a lottery to get a good quarterback. Like they're talking about quarterbacks: Davis Mills, Mac Jones. Kevin Munn, like these guys are, he's the heir apparent. Oh, watch out, Kirk Cousins. Because I'm like, dude, what are y'all talking about? Like the only guy who has to really watch out would be Andy Dalton out in Chicago. I thought the Bears. We'll talk about the Bears and the NFC North next week. But they did a good job of moving up, getting. They had to do that. I mean, like even if those two guys don't make it through this year, at least they can have the saving grace that if Justin Fields turns out to be a good quarterback, they can say they had a hand in that.
And even if he doesn't, they tried, and that's the end of it.
Yeah, you got to take a swim. You got to take a swing.
And in my opinion, the second best quarterback in the draft to pick 11. Yeah. You can't ask for much more than that.
No, you can't. You can't. Let's go to Big D. Let's go to Big D real quick. Let's go to Big D. And obviously, I'm surprised they made all these picks because they got a hell of pick. They got hella picks here. And it wasn't until the 5th round where they really went defense. Went offense. They really. I mean, their offense is explosive, no question about it. All those weapons. They're almost a Madden cheat code on offense. But just like the Raiders with Gus Bradley, they have a cover 3 guy in Dan Quinn who wants to run that same kind of defense. What are your thoughts about Micah Parsons first, and then Calvin Joseph here? Well, Joseph really could have been the guy behind you, Trayvon Morag. We're happy that didn't happen.
Yeah, this is interesting. I thought that the two things they needed to address were clearly the offensive line to protect Dak Prescott, which they didn't do, and the defensive line, and they didn't really do that either. So they went a lot of defense. Clearly, they don't have plans for Van Der Esch and Jalen Smith. Their days are numbered, so they went with Parsons. But then they doubled down with Jabril Cox in the 4th round. They brought in some corners. Kelvin Joseph, a good player. He's got some stuff he's got to clean up technique-wise. Cornerback was a need, so I'll give him credit there. I don't know if I would have taken Joseph at that spot, but they did. And then, the defensive lineman they took, the UCLA guy, I'm not going to try to pronounce his name. Osa, we'll call him. Didn't really love him there. Didn't really like Chauncey Goldston, pick 84 in the 3rd round. And the cornerback from Oregon State, I know he's 6'4" and he's long, but he fits that cover 3 scheme, but he doesn't have long speed, and he wasn't very good in college. So I thought that was a reach. So they took a lot of defense. I don't know how many of those guys are actually, other than Parsons, going to make a difference for them. And they still, if they can't protect Dak Prescott, none of that's going to matter.
And it's interesting that, and you mentioned that the offensive line and then needing help, they could have even did that in the 3rd round. It's just why are you not taking at least one defensive? Tackle. Like, you just have to take a tackle there somehow, some way. I thought it was weird that they didn't take one. That was just kind of
the 4th. A kid out of Marshall named Josh Ball. Yeah. Don't know a lot about him. I know that there was some reports he has a lot of off the field issues. Maturity is an issue there, but that guy's a project for him. He's not going to step in and start. Tyron Smith might be done. They lost their center. Right tackle was a revolving door last year, and Prescott's coming off a major injury. So
even the Raiders drafted another center. Take care of the middle, if you will. So I don't think they did a really great job. It was just a weird draft for them. For me, I think it should have been clearly, defense. Listen, one of those guys. I think Van Der Esch didn't get tendered his 5th-year option, right? They're trying to look for a long-term deal now with something that supposedly that's what they said in Dallas.
He'll be a free agent after this year.
Be a free agent. So listen, if you don't play, I can't. Between him and Sean Lee, they never on the field almost. So Sean Lee was just like, I don't know, he was stealing money over there. But
well, it's interesting because they went out and signed Keanu Neal, who they said is going to play linebacker. They still have Jalen Smith. They drafted Micah Parsons, and they drafted Jabril Cox. So they have options there. I don't think they needed that many linebackers because when you're playing nickel, you don't play 4 linebackers, you play 2. So they should have addressed the offensive line. And I love Micah Parsons. Nothing against him. That's a good pick. But after that, they should have addressed it pretty quickly, and they didn't.
Azeez Ojulari, a guy. I did like him. He's going to be. Fits the Leo right in that cover 3 scheme. What thoughts about that pick in the 2nd round for the Cowboys?
Um, he would have been there when they took Joseph. Obviously, he went 50th. Joseph went 44th.
Mhm.
There was a medical issue with his knee that kind of had him drop a little bit. I
Oh,
don't have the
sorry, sorry,
inside
sorry.
info on what
I,
that is.
I was on the wrong page. I was on the Giants now. Sorry.
Yeah, you're talking about the Giants. Yeah.
Yeah, so sorry. I'm sorry. That was the Giants. Rolling, rolling over to New York and the Giants. Kadarius Toney in the first round. Do we really? I understand the offensive league. I understand all that. Are teams thinking way a little bit too hard with all these wide receivers in the first round? Are we really like did they? I mean, like I understand. I mean, like you can get quality receivers anywhere. Like, do you feel like teams are? Do you feel like he's worthy of that 20th pick right there?
I saw more as of a late one,
Yeah.
probably somewhere 28 to 32 or early two. Clearly, they wanted his speed and explosiveness,
Yeah.
and he fits there. They're going to play him in the slot, and they're going to have Kenny Galladay outside, and probably Darius Slayton or someone on the other side. But they traded down. You got to remember they were a pick 11,
Yeah, they went
so
down.
they moved down, and then they just came up with that. I do like the fact that they're loading it for next year. They got a number one next year.
Mhm.
They picked up a 3 next year. They have another 4 next year. So they picked up 3 picks there. But this is a make or break year for Daniel Jones, and this is another team that needs offensive linemen. And they didn't even draft one. They only made 5 or 6 picks. They didn't take one offensive lineman. So if Daniel Jones has another year where he's turning the ball over like crazy, then they're going to need a quarterback too. But they're
Yeah.
not giving him a chance. There's no protection. So they have all those weapons. We'll see
Yeah.
what happens.
Yeah, see, I was there. Yeah, I mean, Oljari kind of comes in there and plays pass rusher there with the talented defensive line. In New York, they got some guys who can play there. So we'll just see what happened. Um, as far as that goes, I'm not. I mean, listen, this is all about you take a quarterback really high, and you got to make sure that everything's there for him. I mean, I don't know if in that division they do have some quality pass rushers, especially in Washington. I would think they would try to. Playmakers are important, but time is really important. If you have
Yeah.
time, then eventually, no matter how good the corner, the safety is, the coverage is going to break open for you. So I'm not sure why the Giants just kind of didn't kind of like you said just could go in and protect Daniel Jones just a little bit more because he's a little bit of an erratic player here as far as that goes. I mean, Nate Soldier just didn't. I mean, that was a bust from day one. You knew that. I mean, you don't sign a Patriot to a big deal. You got no better than that.
I think the big thing, and I like what the Giants did overall. I like Olajari. I like Robinson. I like Ellerson Smith as a developed pass rush. I like the fact they got 3 picks next year. My concern is this year is about Daniel Jones and making sure he's the quarterback of the future. And if he's not, Dave Gettleman might not even be making those picks next year.
Yeah.
To be honest, like if they go 6-10, he might not have a job. So it's surprising that he went that route. Clearly, he wasn't comfortable with not having enough film, the medical issues, getting information late, and they thought as a staff or a scouting department, it'd be better to push these assets into 2022, which is fine. They're going to have 2 number ones next year, but there's a
Yeah.
chance they might have to trade those to go get a quarterback now because they didn't give Daniel Jones a chance because they're not going to protect him.
Yeah. I mean, the saving grace is that the division might not be tremendous, might not be great, but it just takes one. It just takes one team to get on the hot streak, and then all of a sudden, if Dallas actually plays to somewhat to their potential, then you could be then the Giants could be in trouble. Eagles, they had one of the funniest scenes in the draft where I don't know, I forgot who the
They
GM
they
picked.
they
But
picked Milton Williams in the 3rd round.
Man was in that third round, and is that when they came over and they tried to fist bump everybody, and the
Yep.
last guy didn't want to hear nothing of it. It's pretty funny. Devontae Smith, obviously, Alabama is wide receiver U, so that helps. Landon Dickerson, very versatile center, can play center, can play guard, all stuff like that. Probably be a center on this team. They help Jalen Hurts a great deal. They didn't really fool around with the quarterback situation in this draft. They went out and kind of just said, hey, get a couple keys to the car for Jalen Hurts, and then they took it from there.
I actually like what the Eagles did, and I'm surprised that Dallas traded down with Philadelphia, knowing they were probably taking Devontae Smith, but
Mhm.
they had to get in front of the Giants because the Giants are probably going to take Smith at 11. So it's interesting. Dallas had to choose the less of two Eagles. Did they want Smith to be an Eagle or did they want him to be a Giant? Clearly, I'd much rather have him playing in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
But I actually like what the Eagles did. I like Devontae Smith. I like
Yep.
Landon Dickerson. Milton Williams, an athletic interior three technique. I don't know much about Zach McPherson, who they took the corner, but Kenneth Gainwell's a good running back. Tui Poloto is a good defensive tackle in the
I
sixth
like him.
round.
I like
Twan
him as well.
Jackson
Know
is a
him
good
well.
player. Patrick Johnson has a chance to make the team. And Jacoby Stevens is a athletic safety. He has the physical traits. Now he doesn't always play to those physical traits, but in the sixth round, why not? So I actually like what they did in the draft. They could have probably used another tackle, but they didn't take one.
Um, this is Howie Roseman and Jeffrey Lurie's show here. Like this is a big show for them because they are not. They're looking to mold the coach. You can see it in that press conference. You can see that that whole situation. They're trying to mold the coach. They're not trying to do anything else as far as that goes. Do you feel like um, that's a can you do that now? Like, can you mold the coach into what you want him to be? Don't you have to just hire a coach and for what he is?
And you got to let that guy be the leader of the team and develop the team. If the team can see that the strings are being pulled up top, then the coach is going to have no
Yeah,
respect. Just think about all the coaches that Al Davis hired um, to basically while Al ran the team,
yeah,
and it never worked. Once the players know that the decisions aren't coming from the coach, and they'll just go above them, they'll go to the top. So
yeah.
it'll be interesting to see what happens. They're in prime position next year if Jalen Hurts doesn't work out, because this is going to be, if he doesn't, they're going to be picking in the top five next year. And I want to say they have 2 first-round picks next year.
Yeah.
So it should be interesting to see. They could have three if Carson Wentz plays well in the Indianapolis, and that pick converts into a one. They could be looking at 3 first-round picks next year. So I like the fact that they're giving a chance by giving him, Dickerson probably the best interior offensive lineman, then giving him Devontae Smith on the outside. So we'll see what happens.
So I don't know exactly what it would have took for the Washington football team to get into the position to take a quarterback. But I feel like one thing you can't do is when you have good defensive teams don't usually stay really good for long periods of time. If your team's built on offense, they can be around for a longer time. But like when you have a great defense, or really good defense, I shouldn't say great, but really good defense, it's hard to keep that together. When you look when we look at Washington football team, I'm just saying it just screamed for them to go up. Like you had to go up, even if they walked away with Mac Jones. I would have felt better about this whole draft for them if they were able to do that. Now, Jamin Davis, I like him. Kentucky, fluid, can drop, can get some interceptions, can do some things in coverage, is a linebacker who can run side to side. I not knocking him. I'm just saying I don't know what your thoughts about what Washington did. I just feel like we're really a missed opportunity with all those quarterbacks who went in the first round.
Yeah, they have a tremendous defense and they're all young. So once they start having to pay those guys, having a rookie quarterback for 5 years
Yeah.
would have really helped them. And we know exactly what it would have cost them. The Bears were picking 20th and they went up to 11 to take Fields, and they traded a 2021 first, a 22 first, a fifth in 2021, and a fourth in 2022. So basically, they would have had to give them a first and a fifth this year and a first and a fourth next year. I absolutely do that if I'm Washington to go up and get Fields. And then
Yeah.
if you think about it, Minnesota was at pick 14 right in front of the Patriots. They traded down to 23. So they had 2 opportunities to go up and get either one of those quarterbacks, and they chose not to. They're rolling with Ryan Fitzpatrick and Taylor Heineke. I don't think that's a very good idea, but clearly that's what they're going to do. Maybe a quarterback becomes available that can come in there, but right now they're rolling with Fitzmagic and hoping
Yeah.
that a defense carries them to 10-6 or 9-7.
The worst thing, I think the late great Kobe Bryant said something that NFL coaches like Ron Rivera should think about is he said the one mistake people make is thinking you have time. And it's kind of like almost fitting that like almost I mean it's sad that it end up kind of like being kind of true for Kobe, but it's the truth. Like like he should be thinking, damn, if I can just get functional quarterback play, I have good weapons. I have Chase Young. I have Montez Sweat. I have all these people who can really rush the passer without me having to blitz. That's just like cooking with gas. I mean, the Jets went up taking Elijah Vera Tucker at 14. The Jets would have loved to have you come from 19 to take Mac Jones and have
Yeah.
him not go to New England. They would have been like, oh, that's perfect. Or like, hey, I mean, like, or I mean, I'm not sure if they were in the Sam Darnold thing. I mean, that could have been something that could have helped that team as well. Like, I just don't know how you roll with. I know he's, they know him and Del Rio. I'm sure have shared plenty of beers. Just hanging around. Hanging around talking about defense. But to not walk away from this, like with Davis Mills. Like, I mean, you got to walk away with a quarterback in this draft. You have to.
They didn't even take one. So it's interesting. They must really like Taylor Heineke. Um,
Yeah,
that
but
defense, the other side of it, that defense is going to be so good that they're, even if the quarterback play sucks this year, they're going to win 6 or 7 games
yeah,
just with that defense. So
yeah,
they're not going to be in a position next year to take one. So they're kind of sitting in quarterback purgatory where they're just sitting in the middle of the first round
yeah.
and they're going to have to give up assets. And they could have easily, it would have cost them a number 1 next year and a 5th round pick this year to go get Justin Fields. That's all it would have took. And they didn't do it.
That's crazy to
So
me. That's crazy to me. That's absolutely crazy to me that they didn't take advantage of that opportunity. When I saw that the Bears went up and got him, I was like, good for. I was like, for me, I was like, good for the Bears. Good for Nagy. Good for Pace getting that job done. But that's just horrible as far as that goes to me. I couldn't even imagine sitting there in that, and I don't know what they're waiting for. I don't know. You have to take advantage of every single season you have. You never know what's going to happen next. You never know what rash of injuries you have on the defensive line. You never know what could happen to McLaren. Like, it just makes no sense as far as that goes. Um, the best, the best team draft in this division, I think probably might go to the Eagles. I think the Eagles did a really good job.
I
I
would
think,
lean towards the Eagles
oh yeah,
just because the Cowboys didn't address the offensive line and I didn't see them get an edge rusher that I think's a difference maker.
yeah,
Um, But I do like what the Giants did as far
yeah.
as getting picks for next year. Now, that's not going to help them much this year, but I think they've set themselves up if they need to move in the quarterback market if Daniel Jones proves that he's not the guy, which I don't think he is. So
I love
we'll
that
see.
defense, and I love that defense in New York. I love it. I really I Leonard Williams. I just really I like the head coach too. I like Joe Judge. I just don't know. I just don't. He gives you flashes. I don't know if he can put it all together for a full season. I just don't see it. I don't see it. I don't see it.
He turns the ball over to me. He reminds me a lot of Jameis Winston, Carson Wentz the last couple of years. Like he's going to make some wild plays, and then he's going to make some decisions where you're like, what is he doing?
Yeah.
And maybe in that division, it's good enough to fight for a wild card, or if he can get to 9 wins, try to win the division. But I clearly think if I had to line up these 4 teams right now, I would put Dallas as the betting favorite, and then I would put Washington second, and then probably the Giants third and the Eagles fourth. If I
Mhm.
had to line up how I think it's going to go down, just because I think the Giants, if Saquon Barkley's healthy and Kenny Galladay gives you a decent outside presence and their defense is better than the Eagles, that's probably how I'd line up the division.
If you did a division and said, "Hey, this division might have the most turnovers by their quarterbacks in the league," I think the NFC East would definitely do it.
Easily.
You got Hurts, you got Daniel
That's magic.
Jones, Fitzmagic, he's good for 20 in his sleep.
Yeah.
So I mean, and I like
Those 3 alone.
those three alone, and I like Prescott, but he could turn it over too. So that's interesting to see what happens as far as that goes. Anything before we head out? Anything as far as the draft goes? I know we have the NFC North next week, the Bears and everybody like that. Any underlying things that a couple things that surprised you in the first couple of rounds of this draft?
I think just some of the bigger names falling, like we said, we don't know what we talked about it. We don't know what the medical issues on any of these.
Well,
guys.
JOK had he was a first round. He had a heart condition,
yeah.
so.
And there was a number of guys. Merrick fell. Obviously, they said it was a back issue. JOK fell, heart issue. Dylan Moses didn't even get drafted. So there's something going on with that knee. And he basically signed with the Jaguars, and they put him on the PUP type list. I don't know the exact name of it, but he's on a rehab list right now. He's not even fully healthy. And some of these guys may have got hurt training, and teams don't know about it. And now they're not going to get these kids in the building because the NFLPA came out today and basically told the rookies not to go to voluntary mini camps, which I find it's weird to me that you have veteran players in the league telling these young kids to not go get development, to not go take advantage of these opportunities, because that's what put a lot of these guys in the league. The veterans now, they're telling these kids that they shouldn't have the same opportunities that those guys had to make the team. So I think it should be a player by player. If the player doesn't want to go, it's fine, but they shouldn't be telling these rookies not to show up.
I totally 100% agree with you, and I don't know what is going on. I think that it sends. Listen, don't get me wrong. Football is king, so football is not going anywhere. Football. I mean, the ratings for the draft is better than MLB playoff games, better than NBA playoff games, NHL playoff games. So it's kind of crazy. But as we open up more, and I know that a lot of these states have the whole I think July, Independence Days where they want everybody to be kind of opened up. It's really kind of crazy to see rookies not go to work. I
think it's interesting. We just saw the draft in Cleveland, and we saw thousands and tens of thousands of people standing shoulder to shoulder rooting on the draft, and then we can't have 40 rookies go to a mini camp in a controlled environment. That just doesn't make sense to me. And
Mac made that point, and I totally agree with him.
and if you look at it, we've already eliminated one preseason game, so these rookies, first year players, are already behind the eight ball to make these teams. And now you're going to take away all the voluntary mini camps and letting these coaches get their hands on them. More of these guys are going to lose their jobs or not make these teams because they're not taking advantage of these reps.
And what about I think about guys like, wasn't Jalen Richard unrestricted?
He was a rookie tryout guy. He wasn't even signed as an after the draft guy. They invited him to a tryout.
I mean, those kind of things, don't you, especially if you're a guy, I was going through a list of the undrafted free agents who pull some of these teams signed. And I'm like, for those guys, this is life or death. They have to get. If they want to play in the league or get a chance to be on special teams or practice squad, they gotta be there. They gotta make an impression on these coaches. That's why it's weird to me.
And you factor into the salary cap went down, so a lot of these teams are going to have to put some of these guys on the roster.
Exactly.
Just because of money reasons, and then these guys aren't in there trying to earn it. So it's just interesting, and especially the teams with new coaches or new coordinators with new playbooks not being able to get in front of these guys and try to do it all virtually. I think what this speaks to more is the NFLPA is trying to change how the offseason is going to be conducted moving forward. I don't think this has anything to do
with COVID
or coronavirus. This is all about the NFLPA trying to structure the offseason plan moving forward more virtually and trying to reduce the risk on these guys. These guys need to just get out. They're running around in shorts. You can't do it.
You can't do it. Gronk effed it up for all of y'all. Just so y'all know, NFLPA, when he's faking videos, you can't. What I'm saying? What are you gonna encrypt it or send a satellite image of him working out? You know what I'm saying? Hopefully he's working out and not in the pool with a margarita. Those are the kind of things that And I want Hillis, Millis, whatever his name is. I always screw his name up. I want him in with our secondary. I want him in with that secondary now. I want it yesterday. Like, I love that. I want that player. That dude is highly regarded, really good secondary coach. I want him in their grill, and getting Damon Arnett, getting Amik Robinson, getting Tyron. I mean, Amik Robinson might not make this team. I can say that much. I don't think he's making this team next year. Getting Abram Hobbs,
Gillespie, first, second year guys.
I know. So yeah, listen. We'll talk about next week, but I tell you, they set fire to that secondary in this draft. They really did, and I can't wait to talk about Divine Diablo. That should be interesting player. All right, Ryan.
It's clear that Gus Bradley did not like the starters on this defense or the depth on this defense. He didn't like either one. And one last thing I did want to mention: did you see the run when Rich Eisen runs the 40-yard dash? Did you watch that on NFL?
I did not. I usually do. Veterans? But I was watching Bleacher Report, so I didn't see it. But
it was amazing. Michael Vick,
basically
ran a 4.7, and he looked like he was jogging most of it. Ray Lewis, believe it or not, ran a 5.03, and then they had Rod Woodson run. He ran like a 6.03. Like, he wasn't running. Jerry Rice ran like a 5.4 or something.
That's crazy.
And Michael Vick, like, literally looked like he just walked off the bus and like, oh, we're running today. Oh, I'm gonna run a 4.7. And he's like 40 years old. And
you know who Childish Gambino is, right?
Yeah.
So he has a show called Atlanta on FX. So there was an episode with him and his girlfriend. They're out at a club in Atlanta. The whole show is based in Atlanta. That's the name of the show. And they see Michael Vick, and he's betting people to race him. And then he's like drunk. He's feeling himself. The Donald Glover, and he says, "Oh, I got you. I'll race you." And it's kind of a dramedy, So they cut to the scene of her slamming the door, and he has no shirt on, and looked all embarrassed. And he was like, "I'm sorry," and she's like, "It's Evan Michael Vick. How you gonna beat Michael Vick?" And that scene is absolutely hilarious. But Michael Vick is an unbelievable athlete. He's just, I kind of. Al didn't like him.
I don't know what happened. That was.
I thought he was
actually. I was at the draft that year in New York. That was 2000, right?
Something like that.
Leonard Davis went second. Michael Vick went one. The Raiders picked Derek Gibson that year, if I remember correctly, because I was in the crowd in Madison Square Garden.
Derek Gibson.
And then Marcus Tuiasa Sopo in the second round, and then I walked out of Madison Square Garden.
Yeah, I would have walked out too. The Huskies. No, but I just feel like with that arm and the way he dropped in those bombs, I thought Al would be all over that at least one time. At least one time in his career. That's nuts. He was so good. Yep. All right, Ryan. Next time. Thank you for joining us again. We'll see you. Take care. And the man behind you saved that draft. Thank you. Thank you, number 7.
I had to throw him up there today.
Yeah, thank you, number 7. I give Colton some love. I got to give Colton some love. The offensive line don't get no love. I got to give Colton some love. All right, brother. Take care.
Take care.
Yeah.